We were trying to decide whether it should be alphabetical order or reverse alphabetical order, and I think we'll do reverse alphabetical order this time and ask Mr. Scharf to go first. You get 3 minutes.
My name is Adam Scharf. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am the current District 5 council representative, one term on the council, and I live on the south side of the town with my wife and 2 young kids. I've lived most of my life here in Goshen and spent a lot of my adult energies kind of looking for various opportunities that come up to see problems and see opportunities and be a fixer and a raiser up of sometimes buildings, sometimes business opportunities, sometimes neighborhood causes, and I hope to be able to bring to the clerk-treasurer's position that same sort of attitude of looking for solutions, sometimes where others don't see them, and I hope that I've been able to do that some. I'll use an example from council that I think is sort of a representative of how I try to operate. Lippert and some industrial businesses wanted to expand on the east side of Goshen, and it was a big deal for the neighborhood, for the businesses, for the city, for the redevelopment commission. There were a lot of really important invested parties, and there was a lot of tension there in a big annexation, a lot of development. Neighbors felt really perhaps surrounded, and I thought there's maybe got to be a third way here, and I really tried to dive deeply into the details and found what ultimately I think was a pretty good solution that no one else had recognized, that passed the council 7-0, which was to shrink back the annexation, let the key project go forward. We won't talk about where that stands at the moment, but at the time I brought something that I think was of value to folks on both sides and of various different interests and concerns, and I hope to be able to do that in a position where there are a lot of details to be looked at and reviewed and brought out into the open. And one thing that I do is bring things out into the open, and I know that I sometimes can make folks uncomfortable, sometimes in that problem identification part of the process. But I think that's a really important thing that I can do as a helper in the clerk-treasurer's role, helping the mayor, helping department heads, helping the Board of Public Works and the City Council and the council members do their jobs more effectively by getting them the resources they need, getting them the information that they need quickly, reliably, and competently.
Thank you. Ms. McKee?
Thank you. My name is Angie McKee. I am the current clerk-treasurer. In December of 2016, Tina Bontrager, the former clerk-treasurer, made the decision to vacate her seat. So I was fortunate enough and lucky enough to win the caucus in December and take office January 1st of 2017. In the almost 3 years that I've been in office, one of the biggest things we've accomplished is with the help of our accounting firm, Baker Tilly, formerly known as H.J. Umbaugh and Associates, we looked at our checking accounts and our savings accounts and realized we weren't making much money on interest. So with their help, we did a request for proposals, and last year, the first year in office, we made just over $975,000 in interest between the city accounts and the utility accounts that we have. And I'm pretty excited because I just looked at numbers today, and we're just over $1 million at the end of September between the city accounts and the utility accounts. So we stand in by the end of the year to have over $1 million, obviously, in interest. We have a full staff. I have a great staff. We've looked at making changes. Some of the stuff that we do is governed by the state, and the changes we want to make, we can't. But I'm happy to do the things that we can do and make changes so it's better for this community and better for the taxpayers. I started out in government at the county auditor's office, and with the encouragement of the former county auditor, that's why I ran for Tina's seat when she decided to vacate. Personally, I'm a Born and raised in Goshen, lived in Goshen all my life. I'm a 1986 graduate of Goshen High School. Jim and I have been married for 15 years. I can't claim his kids because those are his. Some days I claim them, some days I don't. And to answer his question, we have 10 grandchildren. So I'm active at my church, at Community Church of Waterford. Among many other things in the community, I'm an executive board member for America's Freedom Fest, for the Hospital Foundation Board. I'm actively working my church, handling the information counter, so when we get new church members in. So I just look forward to everybody's support, and that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. Now it's time for questions to be addressed to the clerk-treasurer candidates, and it's warm in here.
It is very warm in here.
And it's getting warmer for everyone. I don't know what we can do about it.
The lights up there are really warm.
Oh, I see.
So let me just address the candidates in the crowd for just a moment. The questions we have here are varied. They don't ask all the questions that need answers for the city of Goshen. There are just way too many. We solicited, or I solicited the public's input from social media on our websites and social media. And then we met with the committee at the chamber, and our newsroom has input as journalists. So there's a mix here of all those things that go into these questions. And so, like Bill said, we're going to go in reverse alphabetical order. We chose that because on the ballot, it's alphabetical order. So we're giving the people with the W's, Reds here, so a chance to be first on this. So I will ask a question first based on that reverse alphabetical order. The next question will go to another candidate to answer first, and we'll rotate through that. And so if I get off base on that, somebody raise their hand and throw something, and we'll proceed. So
That's a good warm-up.
So the first question here for clerk-treasurer is for Adam Scharf, the Democrat. A portion of the city's clerk-treasurer's job is to oversee the proper handling of tax revenue and funds from other sources. What fiduciary experience do you have that will help you achieve success in this portion of the job?
I've been on the city council, which is the city's fiscal body, for a full term, and during and before that, I've been the founder of 3 currently still operating and successful Goshen businesses, and those have been in pretty different realms, with different tax implications, different sorts of financing structures, and I actually find this sort of fiduciary exploration fascinating. I do reading of it on my own, if you can believe that. And so bringing business experience and government experience on the fiscal body is my directly relevant fiduciary role. And I'll say a key thing in that is that I'm not an accountant, but I know when accountants are needed. I've been able to identify the times when appropriate consultants and financial and legal professionals have expertise beyond my own, and that's a big part of the job that I look forward to, is identifying where those needs are, where people know more than I do, and I'm able to make those connections to be able to leverage those resources.
Do you need the question?
Yeah, repeat it.
Okay. A portion of the city clerk's treasurer's job is to oversee the proper handling of tax revenue and funds from other sources. What fiduciary experience do you have that will help you achieve success in this portion of the job?
All right. First of all, the 3 years in office, a lot of our tax revenues come in from the county. So the county sends us forms telling us where the money actually goes. The tricky part sometimes is when we get grants. Example would be the flood. We got money from FEMA. And FEMA reimbursements aren't always clear. So it's dealing a lot with the state auditor's office and with Homeland Security with FEMA to try to figure out who the money's for. But I have great connections, a great relationship with the current auditor. So if I have questions, I can call her. I've called Tina a couple times when I've had questions when I first started in office, but a lot of it is you rely on what you receive, whether it's from the accounting firm or whether it's from the county.
Very good. Second question is Angie's first. Is it a conflict of interest for the city's clerk-treasurer to be the spouse of a city council member or vice versa?
Actually, the answer to that is no. When I was first researching this seat and then was elected into this seat, I did check with the State Board of Accounts, and I checked with our local attorney, or with our city attorney, and both said no, it is not a conflict of interest.
Adam?
I think that respectfully, that's not a question for me.
Okay. Very good. Number 3, and we have three questions for these candidates, so it'll be short. Adam, taxpayers paying city bills using debit or credit cards are charged a 3% convenience fee of paying in person. The fee goes up to 3.95% if a debit or credit card is used during a phone transaction. Why does city government charge residents fees for using what is a common form of transaction?
Ooh, that's a real in the weeds kind of a detail.
But it does cost people money.
It does cost people money. Well, the city gets charged for the use of that service. I think it's a growing trend even in the private sector to recognize that convenience fees and the real life expenses that go along with the convenience of credit cards and that sort of a system have to come from somewhere. And in many cases, fees and fines and things like that at the city level are defined by ordinance or other kind of regulation, so that you have to collect the full amount of money, and regardless of how someone might choose to pay. So that, Clerk-Treasurer McKee mentioned that there might be some things that we might wish to change, but that are governed by things that are outside of what the Clerk-Treasurer can do, and I think this is probably one of those things that it's important to recognize that there are a lot of strictures and structures within which this job operates, and that's probably one of them.
I've never heard of the 3.95, so that was...
It says on city's website that it goes up to 3.95 for a phone call, and I'm not sure how they...
We don't do that. We charge a straight 3% flat fee in my office when we run credit cards. But Councilman Scharf is correct. We pay a fee to PayGov, and so all we're doing is recouping that user's fee so that we get all the full money. So if somebody's charged $20, it's 3% of $20. But yeah, that's one of those things it's governed that way, so we follow what the state sets down for us.
Well, thank you.
Good. We did not get any questions from the, you have questions from the audience there? Okay, Kathy will pick that up. Any other questions for the clerk treasurers? Come in, okay. Is that for a clerk treasurer?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right.
Our audience member would like to, this is what the question is. With the increase in interest and new surplus in the utility fund, why was it necessary to raise utility rates? Will the rates now be rolled back? If not, where will the surplus be spent?
Well, first of all, you want me to answer this first?
Sure.
Okay. The utility rates were actually increased before the bank switch was made. So the utility rates went up in 2015, 16, somewhere in there. It's been since you've been on council, so.
There were two different ones.
Yeah, I know. So hence, that was done. We did not switch financial institutions until 2018. The surplus money is in the utilities account, will not allow your rates to be rolled back. That money is going to be set aside and used for infrastructure projects that we have coming up. The mayor and I have had those discussions and continue to have those discussions as to where that extra interest money is going to be used.
The clerk treasurer's role is in large part a decision support role. Outside the realm of the Department of Finance and Public Information, the job of the clerk treasurer is to provide the best possible information to the folks who actually determine what the rates are and how the money is going to be spent. And so from the clerk treasurer's perspective, I hope you don't feel like it's a cop-out to say it actually is the mayor, department heads, and city council who determine the questions you're asking, but it's the clerk treasurer's job to, with staff, with consultants, and in cooperation with city employees, figure out what the implications are for taxpayers, for utility rate payers, for everyone involved, and make those long-term plans and work on that. The structure in which others will make the ultimate decisions.
Just a moment, we have one question being written.
We do.
It looks like this is actually.
Well, this one is particularly for one of you, and so Adam, it's your turn to go first anyway. Why go from the city council member to being a clerk? Or the clerk treasurer, I'm sorry.
Well, one of the numerous roles of the city clerk treasurer is to be the clerk of the city council. And there are a lot of things that are specifically laid out in state law about what the clerk treasurer does, and there are some places where there's room for interpretation. And one of the things that I see as an opportunity in the clerk treasurer's role is to be able to step up the really the level of administrative support and help to both the Board of Public Works and the City Council. In many ways, I did find occasion to be frustrated at being not necessarily able, for just some kind of nitty-gritty logistical administrative reasons, to be able to be the most effective representative that I could be. And I feel like I have some colleagues who feel similarly. And to be able to be a helper, be a really, bring a spirit of service and be a resource to the council, the mayor, taxpayers, and bring a service attitude, and also the back end of information systems, database management that I have experience in, and things like that, to be able to actually bring those things to bear.
Angie, do you have a response there for any of that?
No, not really.
Very good.
Well, that's good.
Thank you.